What's going on, guys? I'm Dan Weichart, VP, co-founder of BAP. We're back at you again with Badass Patriot Stories number 2, featuring Eugene and Wanda Kane. So Eugene, is a quick background, served with the U.S. Army in South Vietnam. So we're going to get into a little bit of his story here. But without further ado, guys and gals, we hope you enjoy the tale. Here's Eugene and Wanda. Pieces. So firstly, I'd love to get a little bit of background on, uh, what unit you served with, rank and all that good stuff.
Well, I served in the U.S. Army 1967 to 1970.
Mm.
And of course, I was in South Vietnam with 36 combat engineers. Spent a year there. When I was ready to come back home, if you had 5 months or less of your enlistment, they'd go ahead and release you then. So I had less than 5 months to go on my
Mm.
3 year term, and I came home and
Copy that. And you
got out.
volunteered to serve originally, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So thankfully, you were not part of the draft in that sense, I guess.
No, no, I was
Wonderful. No.
17. I
Okay.
was 17, just graduated from high school. Graduated
Okay.
June 5th, and June 22nd, I was in the Army.
Oh, so you really quick turnaround.
Right.
Because I was going to ask what you did before joining the military, but I guess the answer to that would be in high school. Yeah.
Well, worked on the farm. I grew up on a farm,
Sure.
so there was a lot of work available.
Copy that. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
So coming from sort of the farm life and having right out of high school, what made you decide to want to join the Army right out of the gate?
Well, what decided me to join the military was it was something that I really wanted to do always. I
Mm.
had 4 uncles that served in the Army,
Mm.
and 3 of them served in World War II. One was shot down in a B-17 bomber and wounded several times by the Japanese infantry.
Mm.
And then the other one, he was a foot soldier in World War II, and he was a sergeant, and he was in charge of a lot of infantrymen and saw a lot of combat. Really affected him seriously. And then my other uncle, he was an honor guard in Washington D.C. for the Army.
So serving in the military, did your time. What was the years you said again? 60 something,
1967 to 1970.
67 to 70. My dad was born in 1970. My goodness gracious. Um, it's crazy to think about. It's crazy to think about. It seems like it's so long ago, but it's really not that long ago. So a lot of people kind of forgotten the lessons that have pulled out of there. Um, Outside of that, now once you got back, obviously, the wartime thing was probably difficult. Once you got back, how was it adjusting once you left the service back into civilian life?
Well, it was really difficult because you come from a combat zone and 24 hours later you're back in the States. And it's just, it's like something you just hardly can believe. And then it takes a while to readjust. Uh,
Well, I'm sure.
it, it even came to a point, of drinking.
Mm.
And and it just took a while to readjust. That's all I can say.
Copy that. Now, I know you guys are people of faith as well. Did that play a role in helping you kind of come back? Because if I
Uh,
remember you telling me, you mentioned that you had found God after the fact. Is that right?
yes,
Mm.
yes. E- Even when I was there, I promised the Lord one night over there that if I'd make it, that I'd straighten up someday. So I did.
Copy that.
Still working
Understood.
on
Aren't we all? But definitely kept the promise, though.
it. Yeah,
Um, you certainly are not the first veteran I've spoken to that has had a foxhole salvation, so to speak.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So, obviously you've been able to live a long and happy life after the fact. So I'm glad that you came back in one piece for the most part, and was able to come back. And obviously I've been friends with your daughter and son-in-law for a very long time, and gotten to be got to be acquainted with you guys as well. So I know I've been over to your house a number of times. It's been great knowing you guys, and so I'm glad that that seems to have progressed. Um, Outside of that, now, would you, looking out as a veteran many years later, would you point and look at the military then versus now? What are some pros and cons you see between the then versus now comparison?
Well, first of all, I'm very proud of the military.
Hmm,
Those people are brave. Uh,
no question.
yeah, and they back then and now they still love their country, and they wanted to serve for their country. And I think that the problem with the military today is political issues that that makes it more difficult for them to be a soldier.
Understood. Yep, that seems like a pretty fair assessment as far as I can tell. And I think there are many people out there that definitely agree with you there. As brutal as it sounds, I mean, the military is about destroying your enemies in one way or another, whether personally or with stuff that explodes. And so I
Right.
reckon if it doesn't improve our military's capability to do those two things, it's probably not something that should be incorporated into the military at all. At least that's my take on it. I don't know if you would agree on that with that or have a different take.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I can
So we're on
agree.
the same page. On the same page from there. Now, obviously, one of the reasons that we're chatting here today, your daughter and son-in-law nominated you for Badass Patriot of the Month, and so we wanted to chat with you about there. So one of the key questions that everybody gets in that time frame is, what does patriotism mean to you?
Well, it's love of country,
Hmm.
respect for our flag, and what the flag represents, the people, and their freedom to be able to do what they do in America.
Hmm.
And that's to have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, respect one another, and and to be willing to die for our country if we need to.
For your average citizen, maybe someone who did or didn't serve, what are some things you feel like day to day are a good way to be patriotic toward your country to show appreciation or serve in some small or large way? Ah, this is a good one. So, best dad advice you got, or something you may tell your younger self.
Straighten
I hear
up,
Miss
boy.
Wanda laughing in the background there.
Yeah. Well, if I was to say something to a younger person
Mm,
or myself, I would say do everything you can to help our country in any way that you can. Work hard, have a strong faith in God, and uh, be be a giver, be a person that other people would look up to,
mm.
and that's about it.
Strive out, stand out there and try to be leaders. What I'm gathering from you.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, I certainly appreciate it. I will slide over and chat with Miss Wanda now, if that's okay. Got a few questions for her.
That's fine.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gene, as always. We interrupt this quick Badass Patriot story for a brief request. If you haven't already, please drop us a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff if you're following us on YouTube. If you're following us on Rumble, again, thumbs up there, comments there as well. We appreciate you wherever you're viewing the content. And if you haven't already, you can also find us at Badass Patriot Co. That's at Badass Patriot Co. on virtually all social media. So that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. And lastly, but certainly not least, if you like our t-shirts, some dope gear, you can slide on over to badasspatriotco.com. Again, badasspatriotco.com. And you can grab some cool merch there, and we appreciate your support however you show it, whether it's you're just viewing us or you're getting us our merch. We appreciate it regardless. Now,
back to the story.
How's it going, Ms. Wanda?
Oh, just great.
Fantastic. So just a few questions for you, very similar. So firstly, obviously you and Mr. Gene have been married for how long now?
40 years.
And when did you guys meet?
We met in 1982.
So this is a good bit after his service.
Good bit after his service.
Copy that. Now, in a similar vein, right? So in the whole arc of being patriots in this country or whatnot, obviously you've come in. I know that you serve, maybe not in the military, but Brooke often tells me that you get into some volunteer work. Talk to me about what you do on that front.
Well, Jane and I both serve on a Memorial Day committee. And the essence of that is we actually have a vision mission statement. The mission and vision of the committee is to honor and recognize the sacrifice of those who serve and have served in the United States of America military. And we maintain and support an honor roll, which has, and they're put on brass, and they're put on this honor roll outside, and this American flag that's flying behind it, and it's lighted. And those people who have served from the community or surrounding area, their names can be added. There are lots of people's names on there from the area. And so when it's appropriate and their military service is complete, then their names are added. And the committee places American flags on the graves in 5 different cemeteries of those who are veterans who have served each year. And so what happens on the Sunday before Memorial Day is flowers are obtained and children decorate the graves with flowers. There is a 21 gun salute. An honor guard comes, and they have the firing of 3 volleys at cemeteries, at those 5 cemeteries. And there's an honor guard team marching around in those cemeteries. At any rate, following, there also lay a wreath at the honor roll on that ceremony day. And following the ceremony, a memorial service is held inside the old Methodist church building located in the cemetery, where we call on a speaker. There's a speaker, usually having served in the military himself, and is the final highlight of that day. There are songs that are sung. They sing the, I'm trying to think. It's the military song where they pay tribute to all of the branches of the service, all 5. It's Army, Navy,
Gotcha.
Coast Guard, Marines, Air Force. So it's a very patriotic experience for us.
For sure.
So we've been doing that, I'm thinking, for about 10 years.
Gotcha.
So,
okay. Now, so obviously you're directly serving and helping draw proper honor to members who served in the military. Any additional volunteer work that you and Mr. Gene get up to?
I know, but just let me say in regard to that I'm the poppy woman. I have a poppy on today, and we take donations for poppies, and we use those funds. We use those funds for. Let me think this through a minute. We use those funds for the honor guard and placing new names on. And the origination of the poppy is pretty interesting. Back after World War II in Europe, primarily in France and Belgium, there was so much carnage, and the only thing that would grow the next spring was the red poppy came up. And scientists think that that's because there was so much lime in the soil as a result of the war. And that's why the poppy grew there so well.
Any idea what from a warfare puts lime in the soil?
I'm guessing from the carnage.
Like little bloodshed.
The bloodshed. Exactly.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And so
I didn't know if it was like exhaust or whatever, shelling, or who knew.
No.
Wow,
It
interesting.
was nothing additional. No. And so the poppy is what grew. So that has become the symbol as paying a tribute to the veterans. So the red poppy. And it's a symbol of the bloodshed. And then I don't know if you're familiar with the poem that John McCrae wrote regarding Flanders Field. But anyway,
I feel like I've heard that before because the name Flanders Field comes to mind, but I couldn't tell you that I know the work off the top of my head.
Right. So it came to symbolize the bloodshed
Mm.
of war, the red poppy.
You got it there with you, that poem?
Oh, yes,
Oh,
I do.
yeah, if you want to read us a line or two or the whole thing, I don't know how long it is.
Okay. It's not real long.
Yeah,
It
then
says,
give it to us.
and John McCrae was actually a lieutenant colonel, and he was an MD, and he was on the front lines.
Mm.
It says, in Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Mm.
So that was written by John McCrae, who was a
Copy that.
lieutenant colonel.
Something to remember for sure.
Yes, it is. It's very important, and we obtain them through the American Legion. I
Got
get
it.
them
Okay.
through the Ladies Auxiliary at the American Legion, and they are handmade by the handicapped.
Outside of that, one of the last question I got for you, similar to the one that I asked Mr. Gene a moment ago. What does patriotism mean to you?
What does patriotism mean to me? It means that we love our country irregardless, respect our flag, respect each other, uphold the Constitution, and move forward in a positive way to try to, like I said, respect each other, to get along with each other, and to accept each other for our likenesses as well as our differences, which is not an easy thing to do.
No, it is not. Because sometimes those differences can seem quite the chasm between two people. But yeah, we were saying, I don't think it's as deep as folks are led to believe.
Right.
Anything else you'd like to add in closing?
I would just say that I love our country. And if my grandparents were alive today and could see what is happening, they wouldn't believe it, because it's such a different world that they lived in. So I'm glad I had that experience, and I'm glad I'm still alive today, and I can still vote, and I can still learn, and I can still support this nation.
Copy that. Well, awesome. We'll take that advice to heart for sure in closing.
And well, I would just like to thank all the veterans and everything that they did, because they were brave. There's no doubt about it. And I think we need to thank all the people that were back home while the soldiers were in combat areas. The support and the love and the letters that they received. And I do want to say that this is a choice land above all other lands. It's a God-given land. And it's a very choice land. That's it.
Copy that. Well, Mr. Gene, Ms. Wanda, the Kanes collectively, I definitely thank you for joining me today. Probably not your usual Sunday, I'd say, but I appreciate it nonetheless. I appreciate you chatting with me about what the country means to you and what patriotism means to you. And I know I'll probably chat with you in the future at some point, but I do appreciate you. So I thank you for chatting with me. We certainly thank you guys for your service as well. I know that Matt and Brooke are appreciative of it, but all of us here, Sabrina and I are also appreciative of it as well. As I think of many people in the country are appreciative of what you did, or your service to the country and things like that. So thank you. Well, folks, we thank you for joining us on Badass Patriot Stories #2, featuring Eugene and Wanda Kane. I hope you guys enjoyed that tale. If you did, please drop us a like, comment, subscribe on all channels here on YouTube, or if you're viewing us over on Rumble. You can find us at Badass Patriot Co. on virtually all social media platforms. That's at Badass Patriot Co. on virtually all social media platforms. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on those. Again, if you want some sweet merch, you can slide over to badasspatriotco.com and pick up some cool t-shirts. Regardless, wherever you're supporting us, we really appreciate you. We'll see you next time.